particularly. Yes, am I audible to students? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What we were discussing, I just started, in fact, uh, discussing about this spread spectrum systems. But before I, you can say carry forward this particular discussion, I'd like to know from students at least if they have any question, because it's a very important technological issue, you can say, spread spectrum. And I discussed about what does it mean by spreading the spectrum, and how technologically you can say it's a really challenging task to, you can say, design a you can say electronic hardware which can enable this kind of spread. So many other aspect of that at least, but maybe right now what we are interested in is what is a spread spectrum signal and why you want to make use of it. And like I discussed in last turn also, all futuristic wireless communication systems one way or other, you can say, rely upon spread spectrum technology. And Qualcomm is a company who is, you can say, making use. Now there are many other you can say applications which are coming up, but we will, I mean, for a, you can say, BTech student, we can only confine ourselves. Now this is basically a very secure system. Okay. Power level is low, and as I said, why it is so secure? Because a particular code that you use is, you can say, almost inaccessible to anyone else. It's important to understand, in fact, this power level low obviously enables it, you know, it, you can say, the noise, out of noise you transmit the signal. As low as noise power you are transmitting your signal, so obviously, and then you can recover it back. It's really amazing, you can say, as far as technological this advancement is concerned. And this is transparent to unfriendly receivers. Transparent means they won't make out anything, as I said in the very beginning. Because of the military communication requirements, you can say, this kind of technologies were developed. And one of the advantages is they are transparent to unfriendly receivers. That means the signal which is intended to the user will only be received by that only. No other user can have access to that kind of signal. How it happens, that we will discuss later on in detail. Use of same carrier. Okay, so some you can say frequency spectrum that is utilized, and that is, you can say, corresponding to used by everybody across the world. One best example is a GPS signal. The GPS signal is used by the all across the world, global, and that's a spread spectrum signal. Resistant resistance to jamming. You understand? I think that's again a very important concept, jamming, as I said on the last one also, because you want to jam the signal. That means one example I gave you, a particular area, if you want to make that's no mobile signal should, you can say, enter into that particular region, or it should not be, you can say, accessible to anyone. So like in all important, you can say, heads of the state, you can say, meetings or something, normally these kind of technologies are important because they don't want anything which they are talking about to be leaked out outside. And so that's important that the uh, you know this you can call it as good as sanitized, in terms of communication in, signal received. So the premises should be sanitized so that these kind of signals are inaccessible inside that particular, you can say, area. Nowadays a lot of other applications are, you can say, coming up, because people don't want any disturbance, your side person, you can say, in a or you can say in a restaurant, or in all other public spaces. People don't want anyone bothering them, perhaps talking so much of on mobile or something. So that's, again, you can say, many other issues are also coming, but it's an important topic for jamming. And you should, I think, have an idea also, I think, so far, like the best example you can say is like in television transmission. Now, suppose why jamming becomes important for security is also like you can say that in our border areas, like Jammu Kashmir, or you can say across the border, there are many TV transmitters across the border. Obviously, they have some propaganda or something, and that is accessible. We want that not to be accessible to our citizens inside. You can say Kashmir or other places. So how do? You can't stop them by building a wall or something. This is electromagnetic signal, so you can say make use of what is called jamming of the radars, like your enemy, you can say uh, areas. If you jam their defense equipments, then they can't respond, you can say. So in electronic warfare, jamming is a very very important topic, at least. Okay. An application is cellular communication. You cellular communication. In fact, the capacity of a spread spectrum system is very very high in comparison to GSM. I talked also a little bit on the last time. Satellite communication, global positioning systems. I mean, these are some of the features, at least satellite. Now, I explained in the last turn also, or introduced it, that there are two kind of system. One is direct sequence spread spectrum systems. Another one is frequency hopped spread spectrum system. So first, let us talk about direct sequence. So direct sequence spread spectrum signal is one in which the amplitude of an already modulated signal is amplitude modulated by a very high rate and RZ binary, non-return to zero binary stream of digits. So that means if you have your original signal, that's root 2 ps dt cos omega 0 t, you multiply this particular signal, modulated signal, with a, you can say, particular function gt, which is called a code, in fact. So this, or you can call it a pseudo noise random sequence. So root 2 ps gt dt cos omega 0 2, that's what your spread spectrum signal is. Now, what is this particular pn sequence gt? This can have a value plus minus 1.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, yes,
So I
please.
think you have not shared your screen till yet.
I asked the student also. I mean, okay, just a minute. Maybe I'll do it again. I think, but in the very beginning, I asked some student and they said it's visible or something. That's really bad. Right now?
Yeah, sir, now it's visible.
Okay, very well.
Thank
I
you,
mean,
sir.
so none of, the student at least. Anyway, so far we had not discussed about this content also. So, I mean, as far as mathematically, you can say expressions are concerned. Now, this modulated signal ST, you can define as we had done distal modulated signals, root 2 ps dt cos omega 0 t. Now, this particular signal is spreaded. What is meaning of spread? I multiply it by, you can say, pseudo noise sequence, PN sequence, which is called pseudo random noise. Now, you might say, what is the pseudo? I'll just, we'll discuss the property of pseudo noise sequence also. But that's essentially, you can say that this function has only plus minus 1 value. So it's essentially binary signal, you can say. Okay, binary means, I mean, like as good as our DT signal, except that this particular GT will have a particular, you can say, spread, or I mean, you can say, you can call them, you can say variation chips per second. I mean, how many chips you can say corresponding to a particular baseband signal that we can define upon. And normally for communication systems, this about, you can say, like in your T1 carrier system, you have 1.54 Mbps. So like in, this particular communication purpose, I mean, some of the this particular GT functions which are used are around, you can say, 1 Mbps or 1 point some, you can say, corresponding chips per second. Like, I mean, that's how you can say corresponding to periodicity of that, those kind of, you can say, signals. And this essentially, as I said in the very beginning, you can, I think, yes, it is here. I think I explained last turn, or maybe I can explain it again. This is, your baseband signal DT. So this DT is, let's say, 1 and 0. Now, what is, as I said, GT? GT will obviously, you can say, operates at a, you can say, high, this particular, you can say, chips per second. That means one bit of your baseband signal will have number of chips. Now, number of chips means essentially what you can say is, you can say it's simply some sort of, operation XOR operation, or you can say corresponding to, if you multiply both of them together, this GT dt becomes, you can say your output will be look like that, GT dt. So what does it mean? It means essentially your particular binary sequence that you are transmitting as a baseband, that is basically, you can say, reduced in time duration. If it is reduced, that means this one I will be transmitting now. This, you can say, corresponding one, 100 combination I will be transmitting. So if you transmit this, that means essentially the time duration of my, you can say, binaries, the chip duration is reduced. That means my information is being carried by this particular signal now. So this signal, you can say, if you look at the, it's a spread, or it's a spectrum, means, as I said earlier also, the bandwidth of any, baseband, you can say, pulse, that is inversely proportional to the time duration. So time duration there is large, you can say. So bandwidth is obviously smaller there. Here that you can say the binary duration is, you can say, small. So the bandwidth will be obviously very high. So that's the meaning of spread. You can define the processing gain also, like how much spread you want, how many times you want to spread of this bandwidth. And then again, obviously spectrum, depending upon the availability of the spectrum. Like you have narrowband CDMA, you can have wideband CDMA. So narrowband CDMA normally may use for, you can say, or voice transmission, or you can say mobile communication, and wideband is normally for data. I think more about it you can learn about, I think, but this right now, I think this is the signal that is transmitted as a spread spectrum signal. The waveform of data, the chipping waveform. I mean, there are many names in the different books, I think, but what they call is basically this particular, small, this variation, so plus minus one is chipping waveform. And that's the product. Now, once we have this signal will have a lot of, you can say, larger bandwidth than our baseband signal. And this signal is then transmitted. And again, at the receiving end, obviously, we have to have GT to recover it back. Okay. So if you only multiply the signal with GT again, we will see that, I mean, the property of this PN sequence. And then we will study also why this is called pseudo noise, PN sequence. Okay. So noise, you understand. And then pseudo noise means, you can say, not perfect noise, you can call it, somewhat approximated up to noise. And so this sequence, you can say, I probably spoke about it on the last lecture also, like this, the autocorrelation functions of this particular, you can say the signal, the PN sequence, and the white noise, they are almost, you can say, equal. So what we say is this is as good as our white noise. Now you might say, well, how does it happen? How it is happening? And that means, if you again, if you look at it in another perspective, like, it's a random signal, but perfectly random signal will be of hardly any use, because when you recover it back, how do you get back the signal? You can't get if it's perfectly random. So that means it should have some periodicity. Well, then obviously the logic is, you can say, periodicity means what? I mean, this particular waveform should, you can say, repeat itself after certain duration. And again, then that means it cannot be random. Obviously, it's not perfectly random. It has to be somewhat semi-random. You can say it's closer to the, I mean, in between random and, but you can say deterministic or semi-random. So semi-random means it will have a periodicity, but periodicity is so long, like you can say after, let's say, whatever the bit you design upon, you can say the code that you are using for this, we will study more about that, but that code length can be as high as, you can say, corresponding to like block codes, if you have come across, like the chip sequence may be 63 bit, you can say, long. So 63 means what? How many combination of code can be? 2 to the power 63. So 2 to the power 63 combinations, nobody can perhaps, you can say, make out so easily, and then he can, get back the signal that this particular, message has been sent across this particular, you can say, by code. That's why this is very, very secure. This is a very secure system. So the resulting waveform is then, and I was talking about PN sequence, so we will study more about its property also later on. But it's enough to know that this pseudo noise sequence is semi-random. Okay. I hope you at least understand that this particular concept. The resulting waveform is then integrated for the bit duration, and output of the integration is sampled. That's the same thing we do in BPSK or other thing, yielding the data DKTB. Okay. But I said as beginning, it is necessary to generate both the sinusoidal carrier of frequency omega 0, also to regenerate the PN waveform GT. How? Like this is what I mean. You can say that my receiving recovering system, if it's a BPSK modulated and incorporating a spread spectrum technique, then that means I'll have a DT. That's my baseband signal. I multiply it by, you can say, my modulation carrier signal, and then I multiply it by GT. I transmit it across the channel, so I'll have noise, and then at the receiver end, I multiply this particular incoming signal with my GT. You can say input. When this is multiplied with GT input, this will produce my, you can say, again, of course, carrier, I again you can say demodulate with root 2s cos omega 0 t, and you can say put input as to integrator, and integrator samples it across the, my baseband sample, you can say bit. So that's the output it is generated. Okay, so but it's very obvious. You might say that again, it's a basically synchronous demodulation. You can say the GT I'm making here, the GT here I am like same thing. You can say it's a synchronous demodulation. You can call, because the message that is being received here, unless until that message is correlated with the GT sequence, the same GT sequence which I have transmitted, this message cannot be recovered back. Okay, so this GT signal has to be made available to the subscriber, corresponding to whatever sequence that has been used to, you can say, spread this particular sequence. And the maintaining of, you can say, again, like in communication system, if you look at, you might say that how the base stations are distinguished from one another. And then you might have probably, as I said, gave you an assignment also, like clock synchronization is a big issue here. You might say that what clock reference that is used, because here you will have multipath propagation. Multipath propagation means the signal is coming up through different paths. So how do you have perfect synchronization in at least spread spectrum systems? This clock synchronization is a big was a big problem. Of course, it has been solved a little bit, you can say, but still the synchronization, because normally if you look at a GPS signal also, if GPS clock goes wrong by, or your estimation of, you can say, your position goes wrong by a very, very small time margin, multiply that with the velocity of light, you can say. That means if you have 0.0001 second or something, 10 to the power minus 5, and if you multiply it by, you can say, or your velocity of light, let us say 10 to the power 8. So it can be the target or the person you are trying to identify, it may be away by a kilometer or maybe more than a kilometer, you can say. So accuracy is very important. And accuracy, obviously, how do you ensure accuracy? That means the clock information should be perfect, you can say. And there are regions the clocks are not perfect. Of course, I think more you can write in your assignment also. You can take this task even the first group I gave, mobile communication. So in mobile communication, you can talk about clock synchronization for, let's say, spread spectrum systems, some of the students, and then they can learn how the clock synchronization is getting in GPS, how the clock synchronization is getting in our mobile communication. That can be very useful, you can say. Both the signal and statistical properties of the noise are unaffected by the spread spectrum technique. Okay, look at signal or statistical property of the noise. They are unaffected by the spread spectrum technique, and the overall performance of the system is not affected. Okay, as in BPSK, without a spread spectrum, the error probability will be same, P is equal to 1 by 2. In fact, you might perhaps wonder also what happens to the noise, sir. If suppose the noise is also getting spreaded up. Okay, so noise is also, you can say, that means essentially it is trying to suppress the noise, in fact. So that's again an important property, you can say, or important, at least feature of this particular spread spectrum. But I think probability of error, that calculation we have done for BPSK, this holds good for DS, CDMA systems also, you can say. Now, jamming, jamming, as I said in the very beginning, that's important concept. But let me give you a very good idea, you can say, about jamming. Suppose you have a radio signal, let us say. Can we jam the radio signal? Jamming means what? Suppose you can say we don't want any signal which is coming from, let's say, from across the border. Let us say people who are, having some, you can say, a lot of propaganda or maybe misinformation. We want to stop that. So how do you stop? Can we stop the signal? Like radio signal, if you want to stop, how do you stop the radio signal? Then we will talk about television also, then maybe satellite signals also. Because that's important for you to understand. What is the meaning of jamming? Any student has any idea? But jamming means what? You don't make available or don't allow that signal to be made available to the person. You don't want that signal to, be used by him. But how, you can say, in terms of communication, how do you do that? What may be the, you can say, approach? No answer? No idea. The answer essentially is, you can say, suppose you can say, the radio signal is getting, you can say, transmitted at a particular frequency. Let us say it's AM or FM, depending upon my carrier, you can say, signal. So that carrier signal, you have to obviously, what is done is the single tone interfering jamming signal is, you can say, essentially transmit a high power single tone interfering signal. That means, suppose you are transmitting, let's say, 1500 kilohertz signal modulated. What the other, person who want to jam this is the most elementary jamming process, and particularly used in army. I think even today also in some very, you can say, elementary, or low level. So you transmit at 1500 kilohertz a single tone carrier, high power. So let's say the radio station is transmitting, maybe you can say 1 kilowatt. What you do is you transmit 100 kilowatt carrier frequency. So carrier will not carry any information, isn't it? The carrier will not carry any information. So what it will do? It will create noise. It will create noise for the signal. That is your, someone is transmitting at, let's say, 1500 kilowatt modulated signal. Kilohertz. 1500 kilohertz signal. So this single tone will essentially, you can say, all you will hear is noise, not any other signal you can recover back. I think many times we see in our televisions also, there is a lot of noise. So that particular frequency, if you are getting a particular, this kind of carrier, there may be many other regions also, but in this particular jamming, what you do is you don't allow that that particular carrier to be available to the, people who you don't want make to access to that. So this is most elementary form. So single you can do it. But let's say in case of, let's say, spread spectrum signal, you have a code. Okay, that particular code keeps on changing. So how do you jam it? You can't jam it because you can't make use of, if you use a single tone frequency, maybe at a particular very small region, that particular information you can disrupt. But all across the spectrum, it will be available. So how many tone you can say you will generate? So that's, you can see, that's why spread spectrum system is much better. It can negotiate, you can say, any kind of jamming process. Okay, so that's what let's say, how do you mathematically at least understand it? Now consider that the direct signal spread spectrum signal is interfered with by a sinusoidal signal of normalized power Pj at the carrier frequency f0. Okay, so that is in figure. The noise NT is replaced by the waveform. You will have a noise in terms of, you can see, your interfering signal, root 2 Pj cos omega 0t plus theta, a carrier. The input to the receiver is, क्या होगा input receiver का? आपका √2PS होगा, ये होगा, और आपका ये सिग्नल भी होगा जो जैमिंग वाला सिग्नल है. जब आपके रिसीवर को सिग्नल मिलेगा, so this will be spread spectrum signal also, and you are interfering noise singleton, you can say, corresponding to taking account of the fact that G square T is equal to 1. That's the property of, this all pseudo and noise sequences, that the G square T, that particular, you can say, should be equal to 1. The signal V0T that appears at the input to the integrator will be, now again, this is, you can say, you can again expand it, and then you can club them together. So like √2p dt 1 upon cos 2 omega 0t, the cos omega 0t, again, you can say corresponding to, you can expand the signal and you can put in this form. Now our interest is V0st, that's a √2ps dt plus √pj gt cos theta. I mean, if you look at, the kind of signal that we are looking for, you can say our applications. Okay, so this particular signal we are looking for, and this particular, you can say, signal. Now, using the results, why, you might say, why we are not? Because these are, again, you can filter them out. Using the result, power spectral density of the interfering signal will be, what is the power spectral density? That's a PJ cos squared upon this thing. Again, it will be some, for baseband, it will be some sinc function corresponding to your, the integrator has characteristic not like the low pass filter. Okay, now normally integrator are obviously low pass filter, you can say. Has not means, I mean, not unlike. Okay, it means essentially it's a low pass filter. So GJF will be PJ cos square T. I mean, if you take the average upon 2FC, F for all less than equal to FB. I mean, that's a low pass property. So if you replace this N by 2 by GJF, that means how you are interfering, jamming signal. I mean, if the noise, if you, you can say, if you replace this particular eta by this particular, you can say corresponding GJF, then this becomes PJ upon cos square theta divided by FC. So I can write this in this form, 1 by 2 complementary error function. So my EB is PSTB, FC is FC, and PJ cos square theta. If you can further, simplify it, I can put in PS upon PJ, FC upon FB, 1 upon cos square theta. So that you can say my probability of error. Okay. I mean, that's very simple. I think straightforward calculations. So what the angle of theta is the phase of the jamming sinusoidal waveform with respect to the phase of the information signal carrier. Okay, that's the theta. There is no reason to expect any correlation between the phases of jamming and signal carrier. Hence, we consider theta is a random variable. All the possible values are equally likely. So in this case, we can assume it to be equal to 1 by 2, cos square theta. Presuming that, I mean, this is random variable. So cos square, that's 1 by 2. If you substitute 1 by 2, this becomes this expression. And then this is PS upon, you can say PJ upon 2, FC upon FB. I mean, I can I can put this in this form. What does it mean? It means essentially my effective jamming power, PJ, that will be equal to PJ upon twice FC upon FB, where this FC upon FB is my processing gain. Okay, processing gains means essentially FB is my baseband frequency, FC is my, you can say, corresponding spread it up. So how much spread it is? Let's say 50 times. So this my processing gain becomes 50. So effective jamming power kitna hoga aapka? That you can calculate, and that will be determining my probability of error. Okay, you understand it, students? Or you want to ask any question? We have some departmental, some this interview also, PhD admission. So maybe I'll have to go also, but let me try to cover a little bit more about it. You understand or not? You want to ask any question about jamming? I think it's very simple. And everything is from Top Ceiling book. If you want to read on, you can read on Top Ceiling. Then the code division multiple access. You have studied about FDMA, you have studied about TDMA, and you have, the other one, I think you might have come across what is called CDMA. That is called code division multiple access. Access, everyone student understands what's the meaning of access. Access means essentially, if you have limited resource, you define some access. Like suppose, I mean, if you have, 3, 4, you can say like, look at the toll, this particular plazas. You have number of lanes. So you can define access. Earlier on, if suppose there was a single lane, everybody has to, you can say, pass through that. So how do you define the access? Access means whatever resources you have. So like if I have a spectrum like an FDMA, you allocate your every user a particular frequency. In TDMA, you allocate a particular time slot. In CDMA, what we do is we make use of what is code division. Both time and frequency domain, I think you can cover upon. The advantage of CDMA system is that collisions are not destructive. Each of the signal involved in a collision could be received with only a slight increase in, that means a particular code, one code to another code, they are not colliding or destructive. That means with their correlation properties, you can recover it back. Each user is provided with an individual and distinctive PN code. Okay, PN code, every user is given, or everyone, whosoever wants to talk on mobile, you can say. And these particular codes are orthogonal. Remember that also. I think we'll study more about it. Maybe in your higher classes, you'll know more about why the orthogonality of this code is becomes easy. Because if you have orthogonality, then you can define upon your autocorrelation, cross correlation. So cross correlation should come out to be 0. Of course, in reality, this is never a case, and that's why if you look at a single code 2 to the power 63, how many persons this particular system can serve theoretically? 4 billion, 5 billion people. Understand? If you calculate, that means this single system can serve so many users, but that's not the case. That's not the case, at least, because, and that's what the reality you have to understand, that theoretically it is possible, but why it becomes a problem in reality? You have only few, you can say, orthogonal codes available, and that's a really I think more of a communication, you can say, problem nowadays. A lot of people are working in research also corresponding to OFDMA or OFDMA, other systems nowadays. So this CDMA, each user is provided, and what your individual distinct code that we have already seen. Each receiver receives this particular GIT, a particular code. DIT, you can say, baseband signal. This is your, you can say, modulated signal corresponding to, and theta I, of course, is your, you can say, phase at receiver 1 multiplied by GT and also by carrier. So what is GIT? GIT is getting multiplied by that. So what you want to back? PST1, PSD1 DT, and this PSG1 GT along with GITs. What happens to the other? Because in a free space, other codes will be, you can say, signal will be also available. So what happens to that? Are they interfere with your receiver or not? So you can see GI cos theta, of course, this particular. Now look at, this is my you can say desired signal, and this is my, you can say, interfering signal. So I define it in one, let's say in one form, I is equal to 2 to the power all other codes, you can say. This particular, I can summarize that in this particular form. And this is what you call, you can say, access interference, MAI, multiple access interference. So that means if the code are not perfectly, you can say, orthogonal, they will generate finite output. If they are orthogonal, then G1, G2, both the code should be producing 0 output. I think you understand the autocorrelation and cross correlation properties. Okay. Now, if you look at this equation, K1 minus independent interfering signal, while equation is a single interfering. Since the power spectral density of the interferer is given by letting Pj is equal to Ps and cos squared, the total power spectral density of K minus 1 independent interference is the sum of the power spectral density. So that you can, rather than one interferer, you can have K minus 1 interferers. So you can calculate that what will be the corresponding interfering power. Okay. And I can substitute this probability of, you can say, corresponding to interference. Thus, in a slotted CDMA system, to ensure a low probability of error, the gain Fc upon Fb should be greater than K minus 1 upon 2. That's a criteria we can arrive from this thing for this figure to be reasonably. Near far problem, Fc upon Fb processing gain, that should be more than K. K is what? You can say I'm using how many interfering signals I have. So maybe 10, 20 or whatever. Near far problem, if power received from unwanted signal, usually near more avoided by ductilely. Now you might say that what happens to this multiple access interference. If some user is very close to the base station, he will produce more multiple access interference than the user who is transmitting power from away, because the power issued by the base station will be very small, you can say, in comparison to a closed one. Understand? So interference produced by a person using this spread spectrum technology near the base station will produce more interference. You get it? Students? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please, you don't respond at all. I don't know whether you are, understanding it or not understanding it. At least you should. When I don't receive any, feed, you can say input from you. At least I don't know. The student is really, comprehending. You can say corresponding or understand what is being explained. Now, multipath, you can say phenomena. I think this particular topic, maybe I have to go now right now for this particular meeting also. So this is all for today. I think I'll finish it by the next turn. This is spread spectrum. And when is your end term? Because we have many other topics also to finish, you can say corresponding to our link budget analysis. Any other topic we have as per your syllabus? What is the other topic? Anyway, look at the syllabus and let me know at least if the topics or any other topic which you want me to cover in our lecture classes. So we meet tomorrow. Okay, students? Yes?
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
I have to go right now for the meeting. Yes. Okay.